Hiya, how you doing? Welcome to another Thursday. Where are we? March. Did you know it's 2/3/23 today? 2323. I thought that was quite good. It's not Tutu Day. I missed Tutu Day this year. I wore tutus last year for Tutu Day, but I missed it this year. Right, Sarah is almost at Duxford, so she'll be setting up in about an hour. They'll be starting to build the stand for Duxford. So are you going to go? You're going to go and see them because they'd love to see you. Right, today we are doing potholders. Now, my original idea I love, but it doesn't work. Okay, I saw it on and it was just a pot holder and it's just to do this, but it doesn't work. I don't know whether I need to have a smaller hole so that it holds on, but there's nothing to hold on to and it would just end up falling off. It was really easy. I took a piece of paper, folded it in half, just so that you can see how it was done. It was folded in half, like that. And then I took my 8-inch circle or a dinner plate and just made a template like that. And then once I'd cut out this piece, I just took a slice out. Okay, and that's how I did this one, and I put a bit of insulated what's in there and quilted it, and then you just sew them together and then put binding around them. It was a really easy little make. I love the fabric and I was all for it working because it covered the palm of your hand and everything, but you would have no grip. It just falls off your hand, which is a bit of a pain. So I'm going to need to rethink that one. So I'm making these from Dave, because Dave does all the cooking in our house, or most of it, and he wanted one. So we're going to make this instead. Now it could be a sock puppet. You could put eyes on it and it would talk to you. For me, it would need to be a lot bigger. I think I would increase it by 1 inch all over because my hands are so much bigger. I mean, he's got little diddy hands, so it's fine, but I think I would have made it bigger if I'm going to make them again. If they don't work for him, I will make them longer so that they would come up here, and I would need, I can't open my hand. I'd want to be able to open my hand a bit more, so I think this needs to be wider. But I'm going to show you how it's done, okay? So I'll show you how I made the template and everything and go from there. Right, who we got in? Hello, hello. How are we all? Who have I got here? We've got Kate and Jane and Claire and Linda. Long time no see, Linda. Carolyn, disaster has just struck. I'm in the middle of an order and my machine has jammed. Oh no! Oh, good luck. I hate it when that happens. Yeah, it's a Lush sock puppet. I think that's something that we could look into at a later date is puppets. I think it's a bit like, ew. And who else is there? Marilyn Thomas. You're not late, love. You're never late for me. Right, so to begin with, let's go to this one. To begin with, I'm going to follow the pattern that I sketchily wrote down, and I'm going to go through. I made templates, look, and I haven't brought my circle, but that's okay, we'll wing it, because I'll use these for cutting, because these are the ones I used last time, but I'll show you how I made them. Okay, so you're going to start off with a 6x7 piece of no, we're not, 5.5 by 6.25. So we're going to start off with the 5.5 by 6.25. So if we 6.25 it there and 5.5 it there, okay, round there, we're going to do this. Okay, so this is what we started with. Then you want two 5.5. So 5.5 is my width. Okay, and you want a 5.5 by 7. You want two 5.5 by 6.25 and a 5.5 by 7. So if we cut that into 5.5 like that. Oh, can I get another 5.5 out there? Look at that. I can get one out of there. So we're on 5.5 by 7. Like that. Okay, so that's quite good. And then you want another 5.5 by 6.25. So I'm going into there. So we want another 5.5 by 6.25, like that. Okay. Now, like I say, I would probably make them, if I was making them for my hand, I'd probably go 6. Because even though that's fine, when I'm moving my hand and the seam allowance, I used a very large seam allowance because you're working with curves and everything. So you could make them slightly bigger. Okay, so with this one, we're going to fold on your one of your 5.5 by 6.25. Okay, you're going to fold it in. Sorry, I've just stopped to read your thingies. Hello, everybody that's just come in. How are you doing? It is a beautiful day. We've got no clouds in the sky. It's chilly, mind. So we've folded it into 4. Okay, this is our 5.5 by 6.25. Folded it in half, and you want a curve on it. Now I actually used my curves. I had a circle. Oh, look, Sarah's got a charming circle here. That will do. Okay, so you're just going to go from your top corner. You're going to make a curve. Okay, now you could make it anywhere on there, on that curve. So we've done that, and we're going to cut that out. So you're just going to cut it out like this. Okay, so you've got your curve, and then when you open it, you have that curve. So we now have our template. So as you can see, this curve here is the same as this curve here in curvature, and this bit here is this bit. Okay, see, it starts out quite big but ends up smaller. Then you're going to take your two other pieces of paper that you've cut, and you're going to draw your curve like that. Okay, and then we're going to do them in 2 like that. I'm going to do them together. You're just going to cut out like that. Okay. Like that. So there's your templates. Just from 2 pieces of paper, we now have templates. Okay. Now I am going to use these. Not that I have to use any at all, because I've already cut it all out. So you're going to cut out from your pieces of fabric. You want 1 of each of these. Okay, so there's my big piece. That's my 7-inch length. That's my 6 1/4 inch, and that's my original piece there. Okay, I've also cut them out in lining fabric there. Okay, which I've already sewn together because we don't want it to take forever. And I've also cut them out in insulated wadding. Okay, this is the stuff with the silver inside. Now you could use a double amount. I've cut it slightly smaller so that there's less bulk in the seams. So I've cut it, you can see I cut it slightly smaller than my template. Okay, it's only just slightly smaller. You could take it back 1/4 inch, and then I spray basted it. I've got some basting spray onto my fabric. Okay, now you need 2 pieces, 1 for your lining and 1 for your outer fabric. Okay, so we're going to baste those up. Right, like that. You also need a piece of, I've cut it at 1.5 wide, and I cut a 10-inch piece, but I've cut it in half, I think. No, it couldn't have been. I think it was width of fabric, and I've cut it down. So I'm you want 2, well, per glove you want 1 7 by 1.5, and then you're just going to fold it like you would if you were doing a handle for anything. So you're going to fold it in half and open it, and then fold your raw edges into the middle, and then fold in half again, and top stitch on both sides. Okay, like that, which will make your bit that you can hang it if you want to hang it. Okay, so that's our cutting instructions. The block from yesterday, I saw some of that. It looked really cool. She did a it's one of those things that you look at and you think, oh, I keep meaning to do that, but never got round to it. Okay, so is that my big one? Okay. Oh, missed. So just laying these up. Now, I started off with really jazzy fabric, which, you know me, I love a jazzy fabric. But when I came to do them, I didn't have enough of the jazzy fabric left, so I have used this because it will sort of go in with my kitchen. There we go. Okay. So we now have our pieces put together. All right. So we're now going to lay, we've got our shorter, what shape is that? Arched window. I keep seeing Hamlin and Big Bear saying through the arched window. Oh. So you're going to put these 2 together, right sides together on the flat end. Okay, you can see that they don't reach here. Now we're going to measure up 3.5 inches. There's my thingy. So you want 3.5 inches, and you're going to make a mark on both sides. Okay, 3.5 on that one, and 3.5 on that one, like that. And I've got glue everywhere, so it's sticking to my fingers and all sorts. So we're now going to sew these together. I'm going to put the pin in there and a pin in there. All right. So I'm going to take this to the machine, and I'm just going to sew. You could do 1/4 inch or edge of foot on either side. Doesn't matter what size you're doing, as long as it's going to fit your hand, but make sure it's the same all the way round. Okay. We're going to change that foot from that one, because I can see through it. There we go. That one. Right, so 4. So how's it all going? It's still jammed. You need to have a look at that then, Carolyn. Right, let's put that back on the sewing machine rather than my boobs. Is that better? So I'm going to go from my mark down, and I'm pretty much going to do edge of foot. Okay, only because I did edge of foot on the last one. So you want to make sure that it's locked off. Going down here. And there. And then we're going to go from the bottom this time up. There we go. So we've now sewn down these 2 edges halfway. All right. I'm going to take these pins out. And what we're going to do is we're going to fold our shorter piece back like that. Okay. So you can see that this now should match that. Look at that. Anyone would think it was a plan. So we are now going to put a pin in there and pin those 2 together. So you want to make sure that this bit where your hand goes in is out of the way. All right. I'm going to pin that there. Make sure it all sort of marries up before we go any further. So I've married it up, and what I want to do is see where this is folded back. I want to sew from here all the way round to there. So I'm going to put a pin in there where I can feel the fold. Okay, right by there. And I'm going to turn it round, make sure it's all lined up. And we're going to, don't worry if it's overlapping a little bit or not quite right. We're going to cut off quite a bit of that for seam purposes. So I can feel the fold, it's there. All right. So I'm going to sew from this point here all the way round to that point there. Okay. So, well, you're going to have to get it fixed, ready for when you come to retreat, Carolyn. I know that we've mentioned it before, but there is one space left on April's retreat, if anybody was interested. So we're going right round to the point that I've marked here with this pin. You want to go right up to the fold, okay? And what we're going to do is take the pins out of there. So we've done that side, and now we're going to sew this side. So you want to flip it over so that your entrance is out of the way of your sewing, and we're going to sew again from that fold all the way around to the other side. That's from there. There we go, and then we're going to go all the way around to this fold here, from fold to fold. Seven and a half weeks till retreat. I thought it was quicker than that. It just seems this year again, and another year that is just completely rushing past. It won't be long to my birthday. The king has decided he's going to be coronated on my birthday. I had to give him permission for that, but he did say that he'd give me an extra day off for my birthday. I said I'm only taking it if everybody can have it. Going all the way round. Now, something that I didn't think of before, you could, if you wanted to, decrease your stitch length, because it's going to go under some strain when you're putting your hand in there and gripping stuff. So you could take it down to a 2. Now, as my colleague got her picking shears, there we are. Right, now I'm going to pink round all this edge because it helps it, the seam allowance. Are we in the right one? Yes. Oh, I didn't go back to the other camera, did I? Never mind. It was only a straight line. Well, a curve, really. You didn't miss much. So I'm cutting into this. You don't want to cut your stitches. You want to go down here and around. Now, I always thought it was such a waste to do a large seam allowance and then cut half of it away. But as you can see, where it isn't meeting, if I'd have done a 1/4 inch from this line, this wouldn't have got caught in there. So I'm now a big believer in doing a large seam allowance and trimming back if need be. There we go. There we go. So now we have our outer glove. Now we want this one to be the right size out. So we're going to turn it out like that. Okay. And there we have our sock puppet. Look at that. See, I have another excuse not to cook now. I can't get my hands in the glove, sorry. Now, you can see where I've not quite gone up to my fold line there. Okay, so if I was at home, I'd take it back and sew it. I've gone perfect here, but not quite so perfect on the other one. So we're going to push all this out. And push into our seams, and there we have our outer glove bit. Now this one, I'm going to put it on the opposite side of this, so that you can either wear them always on the inside or always on the outside. Okay, now you want to make sure that when you put it on, you're going to put it so that it points down, so that when you've done your seam and you've turned it all out the right way, it's going to stick up. Okay, so this one, I'm going to put it on the seam. I think it was that way around. So I've taken it like that and I've folded it round like that, so I get this sticky outy loop. Rather than doing that, I've twisted the edge at the end, which gives me a sticky outy loop. Okay, so I'm going to have them sticking out a little bit. I'm going to baste that in place with the machine. I'm just going to put a couple of stitches in there, close to your seam allowance. You know, all you're doing is holding it in place, so you haven't got to worry about it. There we go. So I've just basted those in place there. Now we're going to now slot this one inside my lining, which you can see is exactly the same. You're going to do it exactly the same as this one. Okay, so you want your lining to be inside out and your main glove to be the right way round, and you are slotting one inside the other. So make sure it's round the right way. You need for these to be right sides together. Okay, and you want to make sure that they all fit nicely together. So what else have you been up to? 7.5 weeks to retreat. Can't believe it. All that cake. It's the only reason I do it, you know. I do it for cake. So we're fitting all this in. You want to make sure that your loop is on the inside. So what are you lot doing for the weekend? I found out I've got my granddaughters tomorrow. Not tomorrow, it's Friday tomorrow, Sunday. Meg's off to another nail expo. So I'm not quite sure what we're going to do with them. I make them do gardening, I think. Probably be the thing. Now we want to line up our seams. There's a bit out there. I'll bring that around to there. Make sure that's in with that. Should have remembered my Snagawama magnetic thingy. Right, so take Dave's spines out there. Right, so we're going to line up this seam with that seam. Now you could do like the quilting and nest your seams, or you could iron them open to put them together. Okay, so we have our seams together. Now I'm going to mark where I want the opening to be, because you know me, I go all the way round and then forget that I was going to open them. Now for aesthetic purposes, I'm going to put my opening on the wrist bit on the bottom, so that it looks, if you haven't folded it in neatly, it's on the bottom. You're not going to see it. Not that many people are going to be looking at your hands as you're taking stuff out the oven. So I'm going to mark where I want my opening. It can come out that size opening. It takes a bit, but there we go. Right. Now this is too small to go around your foot. Another reason to make them slightly bigger, because it won't go around your machine. So you've got to fiddle. Okay, so let's go back to here. See, it won't fit around, you know, if you take this bit off, it won't fit on this bit here. So you've got to push it out the way. Now I'm going to go around from, where's my thing? From there. And you just have to make sure that you're not sewing your back end. There's nothing worse than a sewn back end. Okay. Stick in a lock stitch, because you're going to be yanking it out of that hole. Okay. So I'm just going to maneuver this around, being wary of the pins. Making sure that I'm not catching it. Now you could put binding on this. You could bind it instead of doing this. You know, fit it all together the right way round with your lining inside and stick a binding around it. I thought this would be the quicker way. Now you can see I've folded that underneath there. So keep it out the way. So is it supposed to be nice weather today? Oh, my timeline today came up. So it was 5 years ago we had Beast from the East. That was, we had to shut the shop and everything because people just couldn't get in and out of the village. So we shut the shop. And it's brilliant sunshine out there today. So let's have a look. Where are we? 3. So I've sewn all the way round. I'm missing the gap, and now we're going to try and get this. We're going to birth it through this gap. All right. So we're going to grab hold of half of it. I'm going to pull it out. Now you can see why you put a lock stitch, because this would just unravel otherwise. Another reason to put binding on, you don't have to do this bit. Ooh, let's just chop that off, shall we? There we go. So, stitch on the inside. Yeah, I never know which is the best way. I mean, it's like when you put heads on teddy bears or Blueberry Rabbit, you know, do you do it from the inside? Do you do it on the outside? I've started doing them by hand now because it's not very many stitches and it's such a small area. It's probably just as easy to sew by hand. Okay, so we now have everything all pulled out, and what we're going to do now, once we've got all these seams puffed, is we're now going to push the inside. So I think, yes, play with the sizes. I would go up a size. I mean, Dave just wanted a... Can't do this. What am I doing? What am I doing? Dave wanted... I made heart ones. When we were first doing these tutorials, I made heart pot holders. And they work well, but they're very small. Again, like this. I think you start off with a size and you think, oh, that's the right size, but don't take into consideration that you're going to lose a fair amount of it. Now this should work. This should work. I haven't put it the wrong way round. Don't think I did. I just can't seem to get it to sit. Did I put it in the wrong way round? Because each time I push that one to there and then stuck with that. Let's pull that out. So you're going to I think it's in the right one. I just don't want to sit. So I'm going in there like that. I'm not sure whether maybe I've lost. I think it's right. Seems to be going in now. So you're going to make sure that your gap and your seam allowance there, you're going to make sure that your gap here is all turned round with your seam allowance like that, and then we're going to go back into the machine and top stitch it. You want to make sure that all this is right. If you have a turner, go through and push out all of your seams. I could give it an iron at this point, so you know that that is your seam thingy there. We're going to put a pin, just hold that together while we take it back to the machine. Okay, like that. And we're going to go all the way round. I don't know whether I've put it in the wrong way round. With your lining, you've cut them out the same size as you're cutting them out the same size as your outer fabric. If you do a slightly bigger seam allowance on it all the way round, it will fit better. I think that's right. It feels right. So we're going to take it over to here. Late again? I don't know. You lot, you think you can come to these things anytime? Which you can. So, it's just lovely that you want to spend time with us. So I don't mind. Okay. So I've just picked a point on the foot, about 1/8 of an inch. You don't want, it's just top stitching, and you want to be able to catch your seam in there to close your gap. Okay, you could put your stitch length up to maybe a 3. Make sure that I haven't sewn this in. I have my finger in the gap. Just going round. This. I do like this spotty material. Oh, I just moved it. Sarah's got her room back, a downstairs workroom. So we're hoping that we can set up the studio in there. It's not going to be as bright as here. We'll have to get more lights, I think. I bought a light when we went to Newark. The lady next door to us had lights, you know, crafting lights, so daylight lights and things. Boy, is that light good, the one that I bought. Okay. Now, you can see where I'm getting my lining is starting to show, so just going around here. But yeah, I think if I made these again, I'd make them bigger, definitely. But they're an easy little make. And I started over the over my handle because it will hide a lot of the thingy. Okay, so all we're going to do now is go through, trim off my edges, off my bits like that. There you go. And we have another sock puppet. So we have 2. Hello, how are you doing? I'm alright. So, I think eyes on these would be really good. So, there we go. That's another project done. Hopefully it'll help you do something. I mean, you could start making these for Christmas. We've got the insulating stuff on the website, should you want any. It's good stuff. I mean, it helps with the heat, but if you use them in things like bottle covers and everything, it'll keep the cold in as well. I think with this one, the pad, the lining pad, or one of them has got folded. What I can feel. This one's nice and smooth. Right, I'm off back to our Linda. I'm going to continue with Daphne. The idea is I'm going to get a couple of quilts done, hopefully, this week. So keep your fingers crossed, girls out there who are waiting for quilts. And I will see you next week. We're almost back to normal next week. We have a normal-ish week next week. We haven't got a show, and Hochanda is the following week. So we've got a pretty clear week next week. So that'll be good. See you next week. See ya. Bye. And eat cake, yeah. Lunch and eat cake.